Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mike Armstrong podcast show. And this afternoon, I'm joined by Mark Iheanacho, and he's a financial advisor. We're going to have a little chat about business and lockdown networking, all that sort of thing. How are you doing today, Mark? You okay?
I'm very good, thank you. After the weekend, had a very restful weekend. Thanks.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I managed to enjoy a bit of the weather as well myself, although I had quite a bit of work on as well. My weekends are pretty similar to my weekdays, just slightly easier, like slightly not as tough. But I work 7 days a
I
week
know
at
the
the
feeling.
moment, and you know, because I
Yeah.
enjoy what I do every day anyway. So I enjoy it, and I do it on the weekends too.
Yeah. That's known as a vocation rather than a
Yes.
job.
Yes, definitely. Well, I love podcasting, and I podcast on the weekend more on my own than with other people. Although if other people want to come on the weekends, then I will. But yeah,
Right.
and obviously every day I exercise as well, so I do that. I do a little bit more of that on the weekend than I do in the week. But my routine is pretty similar, whatever day of the week it is. I enjoy every day, and every day's another day to have a great time.
Oh, it's great to have a routine. I totally agree with you, Mike. My weekends are generally spent chilling out, everything but work. I mean, sometimes it creeps in. You can't help yourself, can you? But
Yeah,
my weekend, I just like to vegetate.
yeah,
I'd like to do more reading, but it's usually catching up with my wife on our Netflix. We're
yeah.
currently on House of Cards. I think we're up to season 5. So we try and get, a binge in during the weekend.
Yeah, well, I usually watch a bit of TV late at night because I'm a night owl anyway. So I'll have an hour or two as I'm winding down, between 10 and 12, something like that. So yeah, I'm watching a series called Heroes at the moment on Netflix, which is quite good. And
Oh, fantastic. I saw it when it first came out.
oh,
Where are
did
you up
you?
to?
Yeah, I'm up
Yeah.
to. I just started series two.
Right, okay. Oh, it's great. Quite quirky, quite
Yes,
weird, quite out there, but at the same time, you can't help yourself. You keep going back, don't you?
yeah, that's it. Yeah, but the sort of stuff I like to do on the weekend, which is like going exercising and reading books or watching TV, I do most days anyway. So I just
Mhm.
I just do the same on the weekend. It's just my daily routine is what I want to do when I want to do it most days anyway. Like I love chatting with
That's
people
fantastic.
on the podcast. As you know, I'm a big networker and I do a lot of networking events, and we met online networking. Um,
Yeah,
so for me, podcasting and doing what I'm doing now, Zooming, is just following up in networking, but recording it at the same time, so I can use it for my content too. Like so it's just more efficient. And
fantastic.
yeah, and the first place I usually like to start when I get people on my podcast, because of the lockdown is all encompassing, and it's been front of stage for a long time. I usually like to ask people how the lockdown has actually been for them, and have they done any particular pivoting in that time. So, how has it been for you?
Well, to start with lockdown, you just thought, well, we go with the flow. But as it went on and on, it did start to affect. You hear a lot of people saying it's affecting their mental well-being. I can certainly understand that. And part of my role as a financial advisor, looking after my clients, is making contact with them, making sure that they're okay, answering any questions, any concerns they may have about their financial plans we've put in place. And of course, there was a time for an awful lot of concern. So I would generally reassure a lot of my clients by simply focusing on the plan that we started with. I mean, some of these plans are 3, 4, 5+ years in place, and emphasizing the fact that unless there's been a change to that plan, so it could have been putting something in place for retirement, could be putting some savings in place for children's further education. So long as the plan hadn't altered or changed, I would go about reassuring my clients that this pandemic, when you put it on the map of world events, it's just another item. Call it stuff. I mean, I like to look back at financial history, something I just enjoy. Many of us, I'm sure many of the people who will listen to this will remember the technology bubble of 2000. As we led up to 2000, the global economy was doing exceptionally well, buoyed by property prices increasing. And then there was a fear from governments, from large institutions, that come the turn of the centuries, the computer systems, all the computers, PCs that we all rely on, the clocks within them wouldn't recognize the change in date and will revert to 000. So of course, governments, corporates, all the infrastructure was on IT, information technology. In fact, I had a couple of the clients, perhaps over a 5-year period, they gave up their jobs, became taking on contracts, and became literally millionaires over that period of time because of the work, the demand for their services. But guess what happened? At the turn of the century, 1 second past midnight in the year 2000, the Earth continued to revolve around the sun. There was a fear that planes would fall out of the sky, traffic lights wouldn't work, but life carried on as normal. So typical herd mentality was governments, corporates scaled back on all that spending, all that infrastructure, and that is essentially what led the economy spiraling downwards. But money is a fluid thing. Money has to find a way, and money found its way into property. So hence, early 2000, you saw an even bigger spike in the increase in property values. I know from personal experience, we bought our house, the house we're currently living in, we bought that in 2001. And within 12 months, or just after 12 months, we had a revaluation. And our property had increased by over £100,000 just in the space of 12 months. So that's what was happening in the economy. So going back to what I was saying, back to your question in terms of this lockdown, it's reassuring people that over a period of time, stuff happens, whether it's local economics, maybe on a global scale. 2008, we had the credit crunch. Things will always happen. But guess what? The Earth will continue to revolve around the sun. We will move on. We'll get through whatever crisis and move on till the next crisis. There will be another crisis. The difference we don't know, I still haven't got a crystal ball in some 26 years of giving financial services. What we don't know is the length of any issue, pandemic or otherwise, and how quickly we'll come out and when the next one will occur. But life goes on, if you get my point.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, what I've started to see the trends in myself is that everything's going to take much longer because now they don't rip the plaster off, if you like, the sticky plaster. They sort of take it off very, very slowly with low interest rates and everything else. So often these things just go on forever. So I think it may well be that I don't think we'd fully recovered from the credit crunch. This pandemic took place, maybe a couple of years but for about 10 years, 2008 to 2018, maybe it was just a long plateau, slow development on beyond it. And I think this pandemic will be, the same for the next 10 years. It's just going to be a slow work our way out of it, So the only time I think we'll ever really get into a real fast boom period again, I think, is if the next big thing, whatever that is, doesn't come along. Otherwise, it's just we're always going to be in this slow sort of plateau for as long as I can see, because everyone's just in constant debt. The interest rates have to stay constantly low, and savers don't really get their money, so they've got to put their money into other things, property or whatever. And I think this is the norm now. Like the norm is that these things are just going to keep coming. So we're going to have like dips and then slow builds and then a dip again and a slow build and a dip and a slow build. And that is the norm. That's what I think life looks like from now on.
It's quite interesting what you say there, Mike. And yes, I certainly agree with a great part of that. But quite interestingly, after the credit crunch of 2007, and bearing in mind, when the issues surrounding the credit crunch actually occurred, we in the general public, let's say, we're the last to know. So by the time we get that information, the damage is already done and the markets have already factored it in and moved on. But what I love to do is delve into the detail. We get a headline, for example, credit crunch, banking crisis, whatever. What I like to do is delve into the detail as to what caused it, what precipitated it. I'm a big believer in accountability. That's something we don't see a great deal of. But interesting to what you said, after the credit crunch, it was about 2007, 2008, by 2010, 2011, markets had already returned. When I say markets, that's a generalism for, stock stocks and shares globally, not just UK, because what happens in the US, what happens in China, what happens in Russia, does have, and what happens in Europe, because don't forget, we've gone through Brexit, all has an effect on us. It's just how much of it we see, how much of it gets reported. So interestingly, by 2010, 2011, financial markets had recovered beyond the levels they were prior to the credit crunch. So in other words, if you had stayed in the market prior to credit crunch, then you saw a massive drop. And what happens is a lot of people panic when they see their funds, their investments dropping. They panic and they sell off. Of course, then we call that crystallizing a loss. But if you'd stayed put, by about 2010, 2011, you were back beyond where you were prior to the crash. So things happen all the time. It's just, it's a case of my job understanding and relaying to my clients exactly what's going on. And yes, you also mentioned interest rates. We have bumbled along for quite some time now. We use that phrase unprecedented. I think it's so worn out now. We've bumbled along with low interest rates for so long. But the reasoning behind that is certainly with us in the UK, we are a nation of home owners. So many of us have this thing called mortgages, which is just a loan for house purchase. So we are a nation of debt, of debtors. And if the government, or let's say the Bank of England, who are responsible for interest rates, if they did increase interest rates beyond what is beyond the current levels, I was about to say beyond what's reasonable, because I don't believe current rates are reasonable. If they did increase it beyond the current rate, then it affects the vast majority of people like you and I with mortgages. And if you're old enough, Mike, to remember, as I am, back in 1988, when the then Chancellor of the Exchequer, Nigel Lawson, increased interest rates to 15%. And that was buoyed off the back of the abolition of double tax relief for home purchase. I know because during that year, my wife and I, we weren't married at the time, we were engaged, we bought our first home. It was a flat in Hampshire, and we missed double tax relief by about 1 week. So of course, that sent the economy spiraling. People like my wife and I were thinking, if we didn't get on the housing ladder, we'd never do it. We'd never do it. Then you cast your mind back to the 70s. And I remember my father, I was too young to understand what was going on, but my father would say, things are really tough, or we couldn't do this, we couldn't spend on that. But then you look at the recession of the 70s, then obviously the late 80s, and back then recessions, which used to have the definition of 3 consecutive months of negative growth, were cyclical. Well, it still is cyclical, but that cycle was typically 10 yearly. Every decade we'd see some massive event like a recession. I think with the modern day, present times, because that information flows so quickly through the internet, we get that information so much quicker. So therefore, if there's something happens across the globe, somewhere in China or somewhere in the Middle East, we know we have that information and it affects markets. And what markets don't like is they don't like uncertainty. So we might have little mini recessions or little peaks and little troughs. We have it more frequently.
Yeah, definitely.
So you sparked me off there on something, didn't you?
yeah. But no, it's interesting though, because like I say, the financial institutions that caused the global credit crunch were all, having their bonuses and all sorted a year later. But the 10 years of if you like, us slowly climbing out wasn't really a reference to the markets, but really more the general population. The banking institutes and whatever was over it quite quickly. But actually, the economy and the general, like for example, in real terms, wages and earnings have been down probably since the 2008 crash, because costs have kept going up, but real time earnings haven't gone up since 2008. They stopped at that level, and they've frozen at that level ever since. Really, small increases or whatever, but they haven't gone anywhere near. So people's real earnings, if you like, have gone less and less and less over the last 10 years, and they're probably going to go less and less and less because costs will keep going up, but their earnings will stay frozen again for the next 10 years. So actually people are getting worse and worse well off, really.
Mike, it's I mean, to be in government, and especially in finance for the government, is such a thankless task. It makes you wonder sometimes why MPs and government officials fight so hard to stay in the positions they are. But to try and run the economy, what a thankless task. You mentioned inflation, you mentioned wage increases. Well, inflation and interest rates are so closely correlated. If you have high interest rates, you will get inflation, because interest rates means that it basically means that we'll have to earn more to service that debt we have, predominantly mortgages, car loans, whatever, home improvement loans. So when the interest rate increases, we have less of our hard-earned money through wages to service that debt. So therefore, we have to have inflation. We have to have wage increase. So whilst inflation remains low, it means that inflation will also remain low, and the cost of goods will remain relatively low. But in real terms, when you look at it, 5 years ago, were you able to do the things more easily 5 years ago than you are now, in terms of going out for a meal, going to the cinema, pre-lockdown now, of course, you know? So when you look at that, you have to look at your standard of living, and generally our standard of living does go up. Wealth does increase. And then I could go on to talk more about, you know, the silver surfers, you know, our parents, where that wealth is concentrated. It's actually been stated now that our children's generation, for the first time, will be worse off than their parents' generation. So hence why you hear that term quite a lot, the bank of mum and dad, helping out our children. I know I've helped my children, my son out last year, helping him to fund a deposit towards his house purchase, because otherwise he couldn't have done it. He just couldn't have done it himself. So there's an awful lot going on. There's an awful lot of factors going on. And my job,
you know, every generation for a while has got better and better and better and more well off. But I think, you know, because of the global credit crunch and this pandemic now, I think this is the reverse of that trend for a while. And how long it lasts, who knows? But it's going to last a while, probably
yeah.
you know, our children's generations at least, like, you know, paying all of this off, like, you know.
Quite possibly. We haven't even talked about the you know, the environment, you know, global warming. That seems to all taken a bit of a back burner. So yeah, there's an awful lot of dynamics going on. So my job is to help my clients, you know, build a financial plan, help them identify what their objectives may be, and then to prioritize. I mean, most people will know what they would like to achieve, you know. Articulating it may not always be easy, but once they know what their objectives are, I help them actually lay a plan to meet those objectives. If I ask you, you know, in 10 years' time, where would you like to be in terms of lifestyle and your finances? What would you say?
Well, 10 years time, probably I'd like to be running a company with lots of staff, probably 10 years time. So, and getting closer to the stage where I'm thinking about probably in a 5 year period, thinking about how I can go retire to the sun and manage somebody to run my business for me, so I could live off that, like, you know.
So that's fantastic, absolutely great. So we've got like a 10-year plan. In fact, stretch that to a 15-year plan, after which you've looked at to retire. So where you are now, identifying where you are now, to where you want to get to, that is what I do for my clients. Help them understand that, prioritize that, and then lay the foundations towards a plan. So if I ask you, Mike, in 15 years' time, when you plan to retire, how much of your current income that you receive now would you want to keep in retirement?
For me at the moment, I'm too busy building my business to worry about that, you know. So I got big ambitions for becoming a global speaker. And if I make it to that, then at that point I'll be earning the income I want to do what I want to do with it. Then, like, you know, so there are lots of plans, but some of it requires. So my plans would be to get to where I want to get to first, and then decide what to do with the income when I get there, like, you know.
Okay, all right. So that's another discussion as to where you want to get to. Let's just imagine if you were there today. So we've fast forward 15 years, and you're at that point where you hope to be.
Yeah.
What would your income and retirement look like?
Yeah, well, depends on at that time where you'd want to live. How often you want a holiday. All those sort of things. There's choices to make depending on how much money you can put aside. For a decent life. You got to work out from your retirement age how long you're going to live on average, roughly. And then work out, what your standard of living is. Have you got a mortgage still? If you haven't got a mortgage, how often you want to get away? Where you're living.
Yeah.
Because I want to probably go somewhere in the sun. Like my mum lives in Turkey. I wouldn't want to go to Turkey. I don't think, but I'd want to go somewhere warm. And then it's like, how many times do you want to come back to the UK? Do you keep someone on in the UK? Don't you keep someone on in the UK? There's a lot. There's a lot of.
So quite a lot going on there, Mike.
A lot of
so
that's
the one thing.
Isn't there?
Yeah, that's so I would take you down if we were having a financial review plan. Is we'd look to, put all these things down, all these objectives. You mentioned Turkey, family out there. Would I have a mortgage? Well, it'd be ideal to not have a mortgage as you enter retirement. So mortgage is done. So to plot all these things down and then actually see what it looks like. And you might surprise yourself that you might be quite a long way down that road already. Or conversely, we've got a long way to go. So what
I've got a long way to go. I have, because I had a divorce. I had a divorce about 8 years ago, and that wiped me out. I had to start again.
I know somebody who can help you with that within the Intrabiz group. Yes, I know somebody who can help you.
Yes,
sorry to hear that, Mike, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a bit late for me now. I could have done with Deb's work at the time, but for me, like I give up most of my equity and all of that in my house to my ex-wife and to the kids. Right. So that they're sorted, if you like, but I gotta start again, I had to start again.
Gotta start again. Yeah.
But that's why I'm on a mission to become a global speaker, because I can accelerate, I can fast track. If I can get my income up to a global speaker level rather than a UK service provider level, which is where I'm at now, then you're looking at a completely different, it's a bit like, if you're a theatre worker in the new theatre in Cardiff, or you're a Hollywood actor, one earns a lot more than the other.
Absolutely. Yeah, but the important thing, though, Mike, I get it. The important thing is you've got the vision, and it sounds to me like you've got the ambition.
Yeah, okay? I've got the vision, and I've got the activity and the action, which is the most important thing, because the vision's good, but you've got to then put it into action. You've got to do the activity.
Exactly. And that's what I would help you do, is actually plot out what that action looks like. And more importantly, one vital aspect of what I do for my clients is we hold reviews, at minimum annual reviews. Because if you've got a plan of action in place, how will you assess whether it's working, whether you're on course or not? So having yearly reviews, minimum yearly reviews, to ensure that you're on track. And as you know, life gets in the way, things happen. So if you need to alter, it's important to ensure that that plan of action is as flexible as can be, so that you can make changes and alterations along the way. So once we make a plan, I would say the worst thing is to have it so rigid so that events can knock you off track. So it needs to be flexible.
I think everything in life, the best attribute in life is adaptability, flexibility,
Indeed.
The ability to be able to deal with whatever comes your way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So my plan is to get up to that top speaker level, and then do what Grant Cardone done in the last 10 years, and that's invest a lot in real estate and property, doing big property developments.
Yeah. Well, you've often heard me say that when it comes to, sort of building wealth, one of the reasons we build wealth is so we can spend larger later, or perhaps fund our retirement. And as you probably know, that, a male, female that retires, reaches age 65, has probably got a life expectancy of another 30, 40 years. Okay, so we're living longer. The facts are there. We're living longer, and there isn't enough of a workforce to sustain state benefits as we used to know. So things like the old age state pension, by the time you and I come to retire, it may not be what it is today. And we've seen over the years the various changes and
It keeps getting
alterations
pushed back,
government
don't
has
it?
had to make.
So it keeps
Well,
getting pushed back. So by the time I'm ready to retire, you know, it might be too
yeah.
early. You know, it might be too early because it's getting pushed back 10 years every. So 10
Well,
years.
the crucial thing about that, Mike, is understanding why, because it's not sustainable as
No,
it is, and it's not the government being mean and not wanting to pay. It just isn't sustainable. As we're living longer, we have to be maintained for longer. And if
yeah,
there
well,
isn't
that's it.
enough
Because
the
before
workforce,
it used to be 40 years work, 10 years retirement, but now it's like 40 years work, and then 30, 40 years retirement as long as you're alive.
you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. So it's important to have sufficient income to sustain that period if you want a reasonable lifestyle in retirement. If you still want to take breaks, maybe run a car in retirement, live in a reasonable home. So all those
Holidays, all
factors
that.
are so important. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Right, brilliant. So obviously you've gone through all the different ways that you can help people with what you do. How do people get in touch with you if they want to work with you, Mark?
Well, telephone, I'm accessible via telephone, my mobile number. We have an email address, which is mark.moi@sjpp.co.uk. And I've got a website, www.moifc.co.uk, which is just MOI is the company name, and Financial Consulting Limited. So www.moifc.co.uk.
Okay, good. And
I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, and we've got a Twitter account as well. So all the various platforms were available there.
do they find you as Mark Iheanacho, or do they find you as MOI, or what?
MOI Financial Consulting is probably
okay.
the easiest way. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, brilliant. And obviously we met online at Intrabiz, which is Wales and the Southwest networking. Do you belong to any other networks in the Southwest, or just this one that you just joined?
Just this one. It's my first foray into networking, and we're looking to expand the business now. We've taken new premises. We took new premises last year in the St. Mellons Business Park.
Okay.
My company is affiliated with St. James's Place, so we have a regional office in the centre of Cardiff, overlooking the castle. So we're looking to expand, and we have planned to take on another advisor. But of course, we have a lockdown issue. So as we're gradually easing out of lockdown, then we'll re-engage those plans to take on an additional advisor. We have two assistants. We have Jade in the office, who takes care of everything office related. We have my wife, who also works part-time at the company, who looks after stationery and all procurements. So I have some fantastic people that I couldn't do without.
Yeah.
And of course, the support of a FTSE 100 organisation behind me for things like compliance, because you always have to. I use that phrase. Who checks what I'm doing is appropriate? So St. James's Place employ compliance department, and on top of that, we have 100% guarantee on the advice that we give. So we're quite unique in the UK in terms of guaranteeing the advice. So if I gave you a piece of advice and it subsequently turned out to be inappropriate, no quibble, no qualms. We'd refund you and make sure you were back in your original position you were. Any losses, we bear ourselves. Not many organisations can offer that.
No, it's very good. Yeah, I know a few people who work backed by St. James's Place, so I know they're a good company. And so you're going to be travelling back and forth to Cardiff more then now we've got the St. Mellons office.
Well, I mean, I laugh because you talked about being fit and doing exercises daily. It's rumoured that I could actually walk from home to the office, but the chances are, no. It might rain. Something might happen. No, I'm. The funny thing is, I used to be very much into keep fit. I played football to a reasonable level, athletics to a reasonable level, but all that was like a lifetime ago. So presently, I enjoy a bit of golf. After I had a knee ligament operation back in 2004, somebody introduced me to golf, and I've been in agony ever since. So yes, I do enjoy playing golf and playing different courses. Play a little bit of chess from time to time. Would love to read more, and then the rest of the time, my wife and I just enjoy going out for meals and traveling.
Yeah. Okay, good. What would you like to read more? What sort of books did you like reading?
Oh, I'd say the last book that I read, and it's going back quite some time now, and really enjoy, because I will start a book, and if it doesn't grasp me immediately, then but it was a Dan Brown. It was all the Dan Brown series.
Yeah.
Another book I was recently introduced to was the author was Joseph Haller, Catch 22,
Yeah.
which it just had me in stitches. Literally, I was laughing so hard at the genius quality of that author. So yeah, I do like a lot of science fiction. I am.
Do you want any personal development books as well? Because I read and mostly listen to an audio version personal development books.
Yes, I do. There's a Paul Thomas who does quite a lot on LinkedIn. Dan Sullivan, who has his head offices in Toronto in Canada, and I went on his coaching courses a few years back, and I was actually traveling once a quarter to Toronto for his coaching skills. Absolutely fabulous. So yes, there are a few, and I wish I did more, but it's finding that time. It's finding that precious time. As far as self-development, well, as a qualified professional financial advisor, I am required to undertake continuous professional development, which is a minimum of 30 hours a year, structured. So exams and things like that will qualify, as well as internal examinations to ensure that I'm competent.
Yeah, I've listened to quite a lot of audio books during the lockdown. I think I've probably listened to about between 10 and 12, something like that. I think I've done 3 Brian Tracy's books, and The Psychology of the Sales, The Psychology of Success, and was it Millionaire Mindset, I think, something like that.
Oh wow! I wish I had. I would love to spend more time, reading and doing that sort of thing. But my day, unfortunately, when I do tend to finish, whichever time it is, because I'm very dependent on my clients, their needs, calls, what have you. Then of an evening, we'll generally have our meal, maybe watch an episode of something, and the news, catch the headlines, and then that's it. I'm of that age now where I have to have a minimum 8 hours, otherwise I don't function.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's just because I've been exercising twice a day. I'm out for 45 minutes at a time, twice a day. So I'm doing at least hour and a half a day of audiobook listening, which means you'll get through quite a bit,
Yeah. So how long have you been doing that regime of exercising?
Since the beginning of lockdown, really. I've been exercising twice a day since the beginning of lockdown, and reading or listening to at least 10 pages from a book, but usually a lot more than that. Hour and a half of audio book gets, you can do quite a lot of content in that time. I've gone through. I've gone through, like I say, 3 Brian Tracy books. I've gone through Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, Eat That Frog, actually fourth Brian Tracy book. What else have I done? I've done 10X, Grant Cardone.
Right.
The Magic of Thinking Big, David Swartz. I do a lot, because not only do I do the audio books as well, but listen to quite a lot of audio as well on YouTube. Les Brown's one, something power, find your power or something. Les Brown.
Right.
Yeah, and quite a lot of Les Brown talks, because I want to become a global speaker. So, I've been listening to a lot of these guys are great speakers as well, and they have good content. So also on my podcast, I record a morning motivation, and I do personal development as well. So the best things that I remember from the day before that I learned, I'll usually put some of that on my podcast.
Wow. That is disciplined. But what about as far as doing the fitness regime? How do you feel now compared to pre-lockdown?
I feel great. I feel the fittest I think I've ever felt in my life. And I used to be a fit kid.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I feel about the same as like I used to when I was a kid. Well, what I realized is, so I was very sporty as a child, and I was always out doing exercise. I got a lot of energy, and I was just out loving life, playing sports,
Mm.
and just doing lots of adventures and whatever. And then as an adult, I always tried to keep a bit of that in. So I've always done a bit of
Yeah.
five-a-side football or five-a-side rugby or whatever. Maybe get out and have
Hmm.
walks or ride on my bike and whatever. But I've always done it a bit here and there because I've always prioritized either work in a career or
Yeah.
building my business in my life. But then with the lockdown, I thought, you know what, there's a chance now. There's a killer bug out there. So, this is the best time to be as fit as you possibly can be. Plus
Yeah.
also, there's more time in my schedule now than there has ever been as an adult
I'm with you.
because of the
Yeah. Yeah.
lockdown has created all of this extra time where you're not traveling back and forth and whatever. So I was like, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
the incentive was there to do it. I've always loved exercise, but it's one of those things I've always just gone, oh, I haven't got time to make it to the gym today, or whatever. I haven't got time to get out on the bike or whatever.
So easily done.
Because I've had other priorities. So in the lockdown, I
Yeah.
made it a priority. And so I'm
Mhm.
as fit as I've been in a long time. And I feel healthy, I feel fit, but it's more,
Fantastic.
I'm very busy all the time anyway, but I think I'm even busier now. Like, I've got the energy. I've always had the energy anyway, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel good. But at the same time, I'm learning a lot because the exercise is going in with the audio books and the listening as well. So I look
That's a
forward
good
to
way
going
to do
out
it.
and doing my ride. Even if the
Yeah.
weather's not very nice, I look forward to going out on my bike because it's just I'm in a routine now, doing it every day, twice a day. So sometimes I go out on my
Yeah.
bike twice a day, and
Yeah.
sometimes I'll do weights in the house once and to go on the bike once, But
Oh, excellent.
actually,
Excellent.
since about 2.5, 3 months into doing my own routine at the start of lockdown, um, which was very similar, I've actually taken up a 75-day challenge, which is called #75hard. And
Oh, wow.
it's reading 10 pages of book, a book a day, 2 forms of exercise, being on a diet, drinking a gallon of water, and no alcohol. So I've got a week left of that. I've been doing that for a week, but I was almost already doing that myself in lockdown. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I was doing a bit more exercise myself because I was doing normally 2.5 hours a day and an hour on my bike, 2.5 hours of weights and an hour on my bike. So I was doing 2 hours of exercise. Now I'm only doing an hour and a half. Um, and,
Wow.
and obviously I was drinking, but I was only drinking on a Friday or Saturday night and only a can or two. Whereas now I haven't been drinking for 75 days. I'm doing the audio book and the reading and stuff, but then I was doing a lot of courses at the start of lockdown. There was just loads of courses everywhere, wasn't there? So I was doing a lot of YouTube and webinars and all of that. So
Mm.
so that's why I found the 75-day challenge quite easy because I was already doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing was different when I was doing it. There were some slight differences in the routine, but also I would have a Sunday off now and then or whatever, whereas in this 75-day challenge, there's no time off. It's every day. So every day for me
So
at the
where
moment,
are you?
what's
Where
that?
are you in the seventh? Where are you in the 75-day
I'm on
challenge?
about 70, 71, I think, something like that.
Okay. So the question then is, what's the challenge beyond the 75-day
So
challenge?
actually, what I'm going to do, well done, you're the first person to ask me that. I actually don't talk about this to everybody, but I think with us, we're trying to get to know each other as well as network and promote your business as well.
Indeed. Indeed.
But yeah, so what I'm probably going to do, so I love the challenge and I'm probably going to do it forever going forward or for as long as
Yeah.
I decide that I want to. So what I like about the challenge is I don't like the no drinking at all. So I want to have a drink on a
Oh,
Friday or a Saturday night. So I'm probably going to start drinking again.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
only just very little and often anyway, which is what I was doing before the 75-day challenge. So I'm just going to carry
Yeah.
on doing that. Little Friday and Saturday night tipple now and then. I don't have a can or
Yeah.
two of cider or whatever, but I just like a little tipple now and then. And I like at the moment I'm not doing any socialising with anyone because socialising to me is always go to the pub and have a pint. So I'll just steer clear of all of that at the moment. So I'll change that and just have the odd the odd cider with somebody in a meeting type environment. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and then I'm probably not going to do the 2 exercises a day, but I'm going to do 1 hour instead of 2 45 minutes.
yeah.
Yeah, but with an hour and a half maybe on the weekends. Yeah,
Hmm, hmm.
but I'm also going to have the odd day off on a Sunday, so I might do the 7-day routine if I feel like
Yeah.
it. But I want to have the occasional, Sunday when I just chill out and don't do much.
I think that's the thing with exercises, and similar to diet. We go all in, and
Yeah,
then sometimes your body will tell you, "Hey, I can't sustain this," or you feel bad and you feel, "Oh, I'm missing a bit of drink and all the rest." And I just say, just a bit of everything, but in moderation.
yeah,
Like you
yeah,
said,
yeah.
with a drink,
But the
just a little
diet has
bit.
been easy for me, really, because you had to
Yeah.
just be on a diet. It was a diet of your choice. So the diet of my
Hmm.
choice was just eat 3 meals a day, yeah, with
Yeah.
having no goodies, like, you know what I mean? So just 3 healthy, well balanced meals per day, yeah, and
Mm.
then nothing
Mm.
else. And I've actually found that quite easy, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Has
so
there
I
been
haven't
any?
had, I
Has
haven't
there
had
been?
no snacks. I've had no crisps, no chocolate, no cake, nothing of what people would class as goodies. I've had none of that for
But do
75 days.
you? But do you miss it?
No. I tell you
Really?
what I miss, right? So I used to buy myself. I'm not a massive cake and chocolate person anyway, yeah, but I do
Right.
like
Right.
sweets. Like Haribo type sweets, that sort of thing. So I would buy myself like a couple of packs of them for the weekend, just to enjoy on a
Right.
Friday night on a weekend, yeah, and
We're
maybe a
getting
big
into
pack
deep
of
detail
crisps.
now, aren't we?
Huh?
Haribo. You're a Haribo man. Okay.
I love
I know
Haribo.
something about you.
I love
I,
sour sweets. That sour sweet. So I love the Haribo
I
sours
wonder.
and that sort of
I
stuff.
wonder how many other people know about your Haribo
Probably not
issue.
many. No, probably not many, but I don't mind. Lots of people are going to know now. But I buy a lot of those. They if they haven't got Haribos in the supermarkets, they have like sweets for kids, but they like sours and stuff.
Yeah.
I buy quite a
Yeah.
lot of them.
Yeah.
They're my little
Yeah.
treat, But actually, I've done fine without them. Like, you know what I mean? I just
Mm.
it's nice to give yourself a little treat when you worked hard all week.
Absolutely.
So I don't mind a
Absolutely.
little treat. But actually,
What about over the period? Has there been any change, fluctuation in weight? Obviously, now you're
yeah,
doing your
I've
75
lost
day challenge.
I've lost a bit of weight, like a stone or something, I think. But because I've been doing a
Right.
lot of weights and working out and stuff, and I've been riding a bike as well, I've done more.
Hmm.
I've done more sort of what do they call it? Anaerobic exercise than aerobic, if you like. Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have lost weight, but I've mostly just toned up and just put muscle on. I got quite a lot
Mm.
of sort of shoulder muscle and arm. My
Yeah.
arms are probably
And important.
been a
The
while.
important thing is you feel a lot better for it, don't you?
Yeah. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't do it to lose weight. Really, I quite like being. I'm a rugby player, not a footballer. You know what I mean?
Right.
I used
Right.
to be a
Right.
number
Right.
8. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
me, I'd rather be like 16, 17 stone fit than like 12, 13, 14 stone,
Hmm.
skinny but
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather be big and fit, if you like. That's just more. It
Absolutely.
suits my style and the way I am. Like.
It's that thing about well-being, and if you're comfortable with it and you're happy with it, then that makes the world of difference.
Yeah.
It does make the world of difference. And I speak from some experience because I mentioned to you, you used to be into competitive athletics. So I always thought, when I was running, when I was competing, and I was doing 400 meters, I always constantly at 12 stones, and I kept thinking to myself, if I get down to 11 stones, that would be my ideal running weight. I'll be carrying less weight, and as a result, moving a bit quicker.
Yeah.
It never happened. And then when I finished athletics, it was through injuries and what have you. I went back to football, and I'd been playing football before the athletics, but didn't make it to the level I wanted to. So kind of turned my back on football, went into athletics, and then through injuries, I stopped at athletics, and my weight went from 12 stones up to 15. And I'm talking probably nearly 2 decades ago that I stopped.
Yeah.
And since then, I've sort of hovered around the 15, 16 stone, and it doesn't matter what I do. So I kind of, pretty much not given up, but I don't let it worry me that much. I enjoy the things that I enjoy. You talked about your Haribos. Pringles here. Pringles.
So you're a Pringle. I don't mind.
Once I open the packet, I cannot let it
They're
go.
one of the most addictive, Chris, aren't they? Once you open them, you've got to sort of like shake them to the bottom, get the last crisp out, and you like, you know.
Absolutely.
I like the barbecue ones. I like the barbecue ones. But yeah, we all have our little goodies, don't we? Like, you know, a little treats. But no, I'm quite mentally tough. And actually, the 75 hard, hashtag 75 hard, is a mental toughness challenge. It's not a
Right.
fitness challenge or whatever. It's just, that's why
Interesting.
most people find it difficult to do a diet. But I'm doing a diet whilst not drinking alcohol, whilst exercising twice a day, whilst drinking a gallon of water and reading 10 pages from a book, an educational book every day. It's the combination of the whole lot. And for the 75 days, not for 28 days or a month, you know, sustain.
I mean, it's amazing. The discipline, what you're doing is amazing. But the couple of dangers, and this is what I like doing in terms of my job, financial services, I like to see those dangers ahead.
Yeah.
When the next one comes on the scene, I think that would probably be you, Ruined Mike. So beware when the next lady comes along.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, don't you?
Yeah.
And then the other thing I wanted to get at you still haven't answered the question. What comes after the 75-day challenge?
Yeah, actually, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep doing this challenge for as long as I can. So I'm going to see it for as long as I can. It's just I'm going to drop the challenge down to an hour a day exercise instead of hour and a half by 2:45 minutes.
That's what you meant.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So I'm just going to carry on. Actually, so to me, see, you shouldn't have a diet or you shouldn't have challenges or these sort of things. You've got to decide what you want out of life, and you've got to live a lifestyle that's going to achieve that. Yeah. So I've done a lifestyle change. I've done a lifestyle change at the start of lockdown, and I'm going to keep it on for as long as I can keep it on because I like the change. I like the fact that I'm now mentally tough. I've always been mentally tough, but I'm mentally tougher now than I was before doing this challenge. Yeah, and before lockdown. Yeah? I'm also fitter and healthier now, and so basically, what I found about the challenge is not really a mental toughness challenge because I'm mentally tough anyway. And I can do all of these things. I can do whatever. I know I can do whatever I set my mind to do. I'm capable of doing the things that other people aren't capable of doing. That's why I got promoted 9 times in 6 years in a corporate sales job. I know that I do things that other people don't do. You know what I mean? That's why I get promoted in all those times. I've always done it all my life. I used to be the fastest boy in junior school. You know, when I played for rugby, we won the league and cup double. You know, I know what I'm capable of doing and what I can, you know, for 3 years that was the league and cup double. I know what I'm capable of doing. And I know if I set my mind to do something and I challenge myself to do it, I will do it because I'm stubborn. Right. I won't give in until I do. Yeah.
That's not a bad trait, is it?
No, it's not a bad trait. But I've decided that in order for me to become a global speaker, this is the lifestyle I need.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's all part of the process. You know what I mean? Which is why I'm going to continue it on after. You know, I created a happiness formula during lockdown, which includes, it's called SMART, sleep, meditation, ability to perform, which is exercise, nutrition and hydration, random acts of kindness and targets, SMART formula, yeah, to make you happy.
Fantastic.
And I'm going to, this is what I'm going to speak about on a global basis for the rest of my life. You know, when I become a global speaker is what I'm going to speak about. And I can't speak about ability to perform, looking after your exercise, nutrition, and hydration without doing it myself. Otherwise, I'm a hypocrite.
Absolutely. No, I get that. You know I mean? Talk to me about the meditation.
Yeah. So before I come up with my formula, so the M for meditation also can include mindfulness, because basically I listened to a talk from Jarek Robbins, son of Tony Robbins, during the early part of lockdown, and he has a 5 steps to happiness process. Yeah. Which I was living at the time because I was in the start of lockdown, and I was all of a sudden, I've been doing most of those things in the SMART formula most of my life, but I let some of them go, and the ones I'd let go now and then was exercising every day, yeah, and mindfulness or meditation. I would do them now and then, but not all the time. That's why I would like to go out on my bike a lot of the time and do exercise, because I do a bit of mindfulness, you know, where my brain would just settle and chill out and stuff like that. Because I'm on the go all the time. So sometimes only when you go out for a walk or a ride does your brain get a chance to settle. But in the lockdown, so I was exercising every day, eating healthily, you know, not drinking alcohol, except maybe the odd can or two on a Friday or Saturday night at the start of lockdown. I was doing random acts of kindness. I was doing lots of goal achieving and goal setting. Yeah, so I was living the formula, and he came on and gave 5 steps to happiness, which was similar to my formula, but my formula's got 7 steps in it, not 5. I just call it SMART, the 5 steps, because one of the steps, ability to perform, covers 3 things. Yeah, it covers exercise, nutrition, and hydration. Yeah, which is what keeps you the ability to perform, keeps you sustained and being able to keep going. Yeah. So,
Sustained, yeah.
so we give 5 steps, and actually I thought about it. I thought I'm actually living that right now, but I disagreed with a couple of his points because he had meditation only, and I had I was doing mindfulness at the time, not meditation. So actually, I'm saying you don't need to meditate. You can also just do mindfulness or do one or the other, but you need to let your brain clear at some point throughout the day. Yeah. And then also,
so how do you differentiate? How do you differentiate between mindfulness and meditation?
And meditation. So meditation is when you do the breathing exercises and actually go and concentrate for half an hour somewhere, go through a type of meditation. Yeah, I've got a friend who is a psychic medium, and she's got a meditation video on her Facebook page, which I use that. So it's her talking me through the meditation, clearing my brain, and clearing my body and stuff. But before that, how I would class mindfulness is just when you give yourself time to contemplate. You give yourself contemplation time in your day, which actually for me can give you the same endorphins, the same hormone releases as meditation can. So sometimes it's a bit like meditating on the move, if you like, so while you're doing something else, but not concentrating on that thing that you're doing.
Interesting. I mean, I'm interested in meditation, and for me, meditation is about allowing the subconscious through. The iceberg theory. 80%, is of the iceberg is underwater. That's the bulk of the mind, whilst our conscious brain is only a very small part. So that's what I see meditation as, and there's various techniques. I don't know a lot because I have an interest, but I haven't delved into it a great deal. My hardest part in trying to meditate is keeping concentration. It's that silence. And I don't know if you ever, in trying to meditate, concentrating on the silence.
So I've never tried to meditate on my own. I'm new to meditation since this formula and since listening to Jared Robbins, because I used to just do mindfulness. But all the meditation I do is with a friend of mine and her video. So she's talking me through the meditation. So I just concentrate on that, and it works a treat for me. It's like a recalibration of my brain. It just when I like when you got so much going on that it's overwhelming. It's just a reset. It's a bit like turning the computer off. Yeah. And putting it back on, when it's overloaded and nothing's working properly because it's all counteracting each other. You press the buttons too many times and it's all conflicting. That's what I see meditation as a reset, So and because I've always been high energy, I've always slept for 7.5, 8 hours. Very rare will I can survive fine on 4 hours, 5 hours, but I don't. I purposely let myself sleep till I need to. So I don't actually use an alarm to wake up. Yeah, I just go to sleep until I'm ready to wake up, and that's always 7.5 or 8 hours. That's how long I sleep for. I don't sleep for more. I don't sleep for less. Yeah, if I get disturbed or I say I've got to catch a plane or whatever, or I've come in late and I've only had 5 hours sleep because I was out or whatever, then I'll just have a catch-up one the next night. So I'll sleep for as long as I need to that next time. So when I wake up, I might have slept for 9 hours or 10 hours or whatever, but I'll feel fine because I've done the catch-up.
You've done a catch-up.
As somebody who's high energy, I've always had to recharge my batteries, and sleep has always been a way of doing that for me. So what I believe is with my SMART formula is most people do 70-80% of it all of the time, but if they actually did the 100%, they'd be much happier. So it's the combination. It's making sure that you're getting good sleep. You're doing at least half an hour of mindfulness or meditation. You're doing great exercise, having a well-balanced meal, and getting plenty of water on board. Yeah.
Indeed.
And then you're doing random acts of kindness, doing good for other people, which will always,
I've even got a cucumber.
Yeah, I'm drinking a gallon a day at the moment, 8 pints a day.
Oh, goodness me.
Doing random acts of kindness and looking after people will help with the universe and helps what goes around comes around, karma and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It also makes you feel good. So you actually releasing endorphins, oxytocin in your brain. And goal setting gives you anticipation, and goal achievement gives you little boosts in hormones. So you
That's
do all of those
fantastic,
things
isn't it? Because
daily.
I think, as you've described that, I mean, because when you first mentioned it, I just saw a list. But as you describe it and talk about it, I found myself, do you know what? I do that as well, but I
Yeah.
wasn't even aware of it. You know, the random acts of kindness. I see that in my everyday job with my clients. You
Yeah.
know, in terms of maybe somebody's concerned about the
Yeah,
financial
but
market,
it's like offering
just explaining to
advice,
them
giving them an
exactly,
introduction to someone, anything. I do these random acts
exactly.
of kindness constantly throughout the day,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
I
yeah.
get, and actually you get thanked for it as well, and appreciation adds towards your hormone. 'Cause doing good for
Well, you feel
is
good.
good.
You feel good that
Yeah,
you've been able to help somebody. You
yeah,
know, but you know what? I've been doing that for the last
yeah.
26 years.
Yeah,
You know, that's
exactly.
what we
Well,
do.
that was something I've
That's my
always
job.
done. I've always helped people, so that wasn't something I had to adopt. It was just the exercise, really, and doing
Yeah,
that daily because I was just doing it
yeah,
infrequently every now and then. But the rest of it,
yeah.
I just always done the goal setting, the goal achievement, the random acts of
Mm,
kindness, the sleeping. I wasn't doing
yeah.
meditation, but I was doing mindfulness. But I guarantee
Mm,
that works. I guarantee I can make anyone happier. Yeah, if they're not already doing that formula, I can make
mm,
anyone happier by getting them to follow that formula than they are right now. I can
yeah,
literally make
yeah.
anybody happier. Yeah, if they want to follow
No,
the
it's
process, it's guaranteed.
it's
It's
interesting.
scientific. It's not like
Absolutely.
mumbo jumbo or it might work. It's scientifically proven to make you happier because they all release
Yeah, yeah.
endorphins. You know what I
And
mean?
you're living proof of that.
And I'm living proof of it. In lockdown, it's probably been one of the best periods of my life because I've literally been following the happiness formula.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Oh,
yes,
good. So obviously you've got your goals, you've got your ambitions.
yeah.
Um, who's helping you see that through?
So at the moment, I'm just busy building my network, which is always going to help me to get to where I want. So I used to be a Network of the Year at Intrabiz 2018, the first time they give the award out to their members.
Oh,
So
wow, wow,
since then, I've been busy networking around the UK, yeah, in the real world. And then since lockdown, I've actually been busy networking around the world. So I've had a lot of people on my podcast from Canada, America, Texas, California, Florida,
wow,
Louisiana, Iowa. I've had people on from Melbourne, from New Zealand, from Ghana, from South Africa, from Namibia. I have people on
wow.
from everywhere, So I'm on a mission to become a global speaker, which means I need to get a load of connections globally, so that when any of
Yeah,
them
yeah,
hear about any speaking events or whatever, hopefully they'll. And I let people know on my podcast that I want to become a global speaker. So
yeah, yeah.
hopefully, I'll just keep working contacts and connections until I get to where I want to
Mhm.
get to.
Well, maybe when we get back to some form of um, face-to-face um, events, um, I may look to invite you to come to one of our client events and just give a talk.
Yeah,
You know, I think
happily,
I'll be
happily do that.
because yeah, absolutely. Because I believe in that diversification. You know, I can talk all day long about financial markets, investments, pensions, and all the rest. But it's just sometimes nice to have an alternative
Yeah.
subject. You know, so yes, maybe that's
Well, I'm
something
gonna
we can
at the
collaborate on in the
moment.
future.
Yeah, at the moment, I'm doing an A to Z of series on my podcast. I'm doing the A to Z of networking, the A to Z of marketing, the A to Z of sales, the A to Z of social media, and the A to Z
Hmm.
of entrepreneurship. Yeah. And
Right,
at
right,
some point,
right.
I may well turn each one of them into a book. I'm
Mhm.
probably going to do a networking book because I'm an award-winning networker. So why wouldn't I do a networking book, give people some tips and advice?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm also an award-winning marketeer mind and an award-winning salesperson and award-winning sales manager. Everything I've done, I've always won awards in, because I
Yeah,
go above and beyond. I go into that space where other people don't. That last 10%, the extra mile.
yeah,
You know, the I'm not interested in 60, 70, 80, 90%. I'm interested in 100% or as close as I can get to it. You know?
No, it's impressive, and you're making me feel now slightly inadequate in terms of I need to do more, I need to push on, I need to
Well,
get more.
if I could help you push on and get it and feel like you're actually capable of doing more, I was on the other day to a podcaster who does one podcast a day, and I told him my target is 10 a day, 10 episodes a day, and they said, "Oh, you're making me feel like I want to do more now," and I'm like, "Well, if you want to do more, do more. I don't mind." I started
You
off
need to get
with
out.
I made my
Yeah, I need to
podcast
get out
name.
and see more clients.
I said to my podcast when I first created it, I called it Mike Armstrong's Weekly Podcast. And then I realized I had more to say than that. So I changed it to Mike Armstrong's Daily Podcast. Then I started doing 3 a day because I had more to say than 1 a day. And now I've set myself a target of 10 a day.
Yeah. Well, no, it's interesting. I mean, I look at my my industry and my field of expertise. I have an awful lot to say, an awful lot of information and material
Well,
to
got
get
30
out
years
there.
experience, haven't you?
Yeah, well, absolutely. And it's forever changing and revolving. Every year we have a budget, things change. So there's an awful lot of information to pass on there. So I think I'm perhaps doing a bit of a disservice in not passing that information on.
Yeah, well, I'm going to create. An entrepreneur academy where I put all my content in. An entrepreneur training academy. That's the plan. That's why I can just keep creating content. At some point, I'm going to repurpose it, reuse it, and that. I had a
So
chat
that's
the
pretty
other
much,
day.
I was going to say, that's pretty much what Dan Sullivan does. Sorry to cut across you there. If you're familiar with Dan Sullivan, it's just mind blowing, just amazing.
I'll check him out.
Yeah, when you think about it, you think, wow, I know this, and it's all so straightforward, but why wasn't I doing it?
Yeah, well, you need refreshers every now and then, don't you? Sometimes back to basics is the best place to go when you're in sales or in business.
And when I started a course with Dan Sullivan, one of the first questions he asked, and this is why I sort of, it sort of struck a chord with me because it's what I asked my clients. First question that he asked is, how long are you going to live? And of course, everybody around the room, looking at each other, looking at themselves, and thinking, "Oh, I don't know. What's the national sort of statistics for life expectancy for a male, for a female, whatever?" I think most people came around the consensus around somewhere between 80, 85, so on and so forth. Yeah. And of course, then he says, like, "How old are you now?" So you work out your age, and then you work out, "I've got this longevity left." Yeah. And I tell you what it does. It starts to focus the mind in terms of what, like yourself, what you want to achieve. And I go, wow, I've got this to do, I've got that to do, I haven't achieved that. Wow, I've got that constraint of time. When you start to look at it, in that fashion, you think, wow, I better get on with it. I haven't got time to procrastinate. I need to get on with it.
No, but that's it. That's why I'm on 100 miles an hour at the moment myself. Is because my divorce, like 8 years ago, it put me back to not far off starting all over again, because
it focuses the mind.
Yeah, not only was it a divorce, but it was also I had some issues. I myself was a bit of a victim in the global credit crunch because I signed up on a 6.25% mortgage for 5 years, just when 2008 started to happen before the interest rates went down. And I thought what you mentioned earlier, what happened in the 80s and then going up might happen. So I fixed on 6.25%, and then everything went down, and then everyone else had the benefit of low mortgage payments to get them over the high increased costs, but I didn't. Yeah. So for me, all of a sudden, my margin in what things cost and what I was earning, just shrunk. Before I was left with money to live, and then I was left with no money to live. Because of just a bad financial decision at the time. But it wasn't a bad financial decision. It was just a decision that went the wrong way.
I don't believe in bad financial decisions. I believe in, having the right decision for your circumstances at any given time. So when you did that, when you took that plan, that mortgage fixed rate, some 6.5%, it must have seemed like a great idea at that time.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't have done it for 5 years. I did not. I would have just done it for 2 years. But I was thinking it could go up to whatever it does in the 80s, 14%, 12%, 15%. I won't be able to afford to live in my house anymore.
Exactly. So it's interesting to focus on those motivators, or sometimes it's fear. Sometimes, like you said, worried that interest rates could go back up to 18%. So having the right information at the time to get the best of what you can. And then when interest rates started dropping and dropping, you would have had options. And
Yeah,
again, I wonder if you had
as
any.
quick a decision. I should have just held back a bit and not rushed into it. It was unlucky it was, because I was 2 years into my house and the 2-year fixed rate or for introductory rate or whatever was just ending, and all of this is
Right.
going on. And you panic, don't you? And you just think, oh well, you know, I was in quite a big house, 300 grand
Mhm.
house. If
Yeah,
interest rates had gone up double or triple, I just wouldn't have been able to afford to live. Like, I was just trying to protect my partner
yeah,
and the new baby on the way,
right,
my young first child and the new one on the way. So I was under
right.
pressure to make
I'm
a
really.
decision.
Did you get financial advice? Did you get any assistance at the time, or were you
Yeah,
doing it yourself?
off my ex-father-in-law, who was a financial advisor for the Royal London for 30 odd years.
Right, right, right. Okay. Ah,
That's why
interesting,
it was
interesting.
him that said about the interest rates in the 80s, which is why we made the decision. Had
Mm.
interest rates gone up like they did in the 80s and not gone down, I'd have been
You would have
happy,
been
and everyone
laughing.
else would have been,
Yeah, yeah.
worse off.
There are winners. There are winners and losers in every circumstance. Hence
Exactly.
why
And
it's important.
sometimes
Well,
it is just luck. Sometimes you just
well,
the right,
what I tend to say is, rather than luck, and you don't get me wrong, luck exists there. You might have premium bonds and have a win.
yeah,
That's luck. It's not what Yes, you had premium bonds with the hope of winning, but
yeah,
if you actually got the jackpot, then it's luck more than anything else. So I believe in setting financial plans that are specific to your circumstances. And that's that thing I said about reviewing. Now, it could be you made a plan at one point, and then, like you did with the mortgage rate, and then things change and alter. Then it's a case of sitting down and saying, well, look, this was the plan that was going to sustain us through for this period. Things have changed. What are our options? What can we do? And I'm not sure how much of that, played a part with your circumstances, but I use that going forward now. So with clients, because when you invest, a lot of people invest, obviously, with the hope of building capital, building wealth. But when you invest, by the sheer nature of investing, you have no idea what that future is going to be. Now, what we do have is we have past history, and you'll see in all the small print, past performance is no guide to the future. And whilst that's true, very true, it's
it
all
can
we
be a
have.
good indicator.
It's an indicator, nothing more,
Yeah.
nothing less.
I play
Hence why.
probabilities. I play the probability games on everything. I weigh up the odds and look. I think that's how I strategically decide to do anything, is by weighing up the odds. What could happen if it does go right? What doesn't, etc. But at that time,
Mhm.
it was my first real time as an adult through a big situation. It's why I try and help as many people as I can through this pandemic right now, is because I've been there,
Mhm.
son, it got the t-shirt from the last
Absolutely.
time, and I've
Yeah.
learned,
Yeah.
what,
Mhm.
don't rush into things, and maybe take, pause and take a breath. And I'm not somebody who rushes into things anyway. I play
What I
statistical
call that,
probabilities,
Mike, I call that experience.
yeah, yeah,
You've lived through your experience and gone through what you've gone through.
yeah,
And that's so important that we don't forget. And that experience is what will guide us, and it will affect our attitudes and decisions going forward. And
yeah,
the more experiences we get and aware of, then hopefully the better decisions we can make going forward. The vast majority of my clients, I would say, are mature. Um, so sort of 40 plus. Many of them are in their 60s, 70s, and a few in their 80s. And when we sit down, when we have our review meetings, the conversation, forget the actual financial planning, etc., but the conversation. And when they talk to me about their life experiences, that for me is probably the biggest benefit I gain in the job that I do,
yeah,
because I can feed off that experience. Um, we've brought two children into this world. Got a son, 26, and a daughter, 24. Much of what I was able to impart on them is what I've learned. Much of it through my clients, obviously parents, brothers, sisters, and all this, they all have an influencer, don't they? But it's having that life experience. Going into my culture, I was born in Nigeria, came to the UK at the age of 5. Couldn't speak a word of English when I came, and arguably my wife will probably say I still can't speak a word of English at times. Depends on the situation, doesn't it? But as I said, I was born in Nigeria and very, very poor. We had nothing. When I came to the UK, it's a totally different environment, and we should all be exceptionally grateful for what we have in the UK, in the Western world, when you compare it to a lot of other countries. But the point I'm trying to make is, in my culture, there is well, it's fact that we learn from our elders. So when the elders or when your parents speak, children will keep quiet. You may say it's respect, but I suppose when the way I kind of rationalize it, and I think back to sort of pre-modern times, I suppose if you're out there in the jungle or whatever, if you didn't listen to your elders who had that life experience and gone through all the dangers and all the risks, you might get eaten by a lion or whatever. I'm being over dramatic here, but you get the point I'm trying to make. Experience.
Well, that's why the people I listen to are people like Sharon Lecter, Brian Tracy, Robert Kiyosaki, Grant Cardone. They're all people who are 20 years, 30 years older than I am.
Older. Yeah, and gone through that life experience.
They've got those experiences that I'm about to get into. They've already been there, done it, and are preaching, the right information for me at my time of life. That's why I say to people like in the young entrepreneurs that I like to mentor, if you like, ones in their 20s and 30s, I'm like, well, they shouldn't necessarily listen to some people in their 60s, 70s because they're too far. There's too much of a gap in between. You should always be listening to the generation above you or the next one, there, but not too far away. So actually, for me,
it has to be relevant. It has to be relevant.
Yeah, exactly. Because otherwise, it's a long time ago to someone in their 70s was in their 20s. Like, it was 50 odd years. Things have changed a bit or whatever. But Grant Cardone is one of my big mentors. I listen to a lot of Grant Cardone. He's only 20 years older than me. So, when he's talking about what he talks about the last 10 years, the last 15 years, it's the time I'm about to enter now. So it's the right information for the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's amazing, isn't it? And that's what life is about, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But I've got another call. I have bang on at 4 o'clock. I'm on someone else's podcast for a change, and then I think they're coming on mine as well. So it's going to be a two-way chat on theirs first, and then on mine. So I'm going to say thank you very much for coming on my podcast. We actually was on much longer than I normally. I think we were an hour and a half, I think.
Yes, it is.
Normally 45 minutes or so, but because we're quite new to getting to know each other, I thought let's just keep chatting. Because I didn't have
the time has flown.
Yeah, normally I only keep an hour, but I had an hour and a half anyway, so we managed to fill it anyway. So great.
No, thanks for inviting me. And yeah, that time has just flown because we had a lot to talk about. I had a lot to gain from you, and obviously, as you said, it's the first meeting. But no, I really appreciate it. And I assume now you will edit or put it on. So
I just put it on as it is. I put it on as it is, and it goes on the podcast. It go on the YouTube channel. I'll share it around my socials. Then I'll copy and paste the links and send it to you, so you can do with it what you want.
That'd be great. That'd be great. I look forward to that. Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks very much, Mike.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Have a great day.
All the best.
And catch you at the next meeting.
Yes,
bye for now.
Catch you Wednesday evening, I think. Cheers.
That's it.
Bye.
Bye.
Right. And there's nothing else left for me to say now other than have a great day. I know I will. And thanks very much for listening. Cheers. Bye-bye.